My racist neighbors are harassing us just because we're child-free. My husband and I thought we were completely overthinking, but turns out we were right all along. About 2 years ago, we bought our first house. We were really excited to leave apartment life behind. However, things didn't go as planned. It all began with our neighbors behind our house. They were mowing their lawn way over the property line, and they had a big dog that they'd let out without a leash or a fence. One day, their dog charged at our small puppy, and my wife had to step in to protect our little dog. The husband didn't help at all. So, we decided to get a fence installed to keep our yard safe for our pets. However, this made our neighbors very angry. They believed that children should be able to play everywhere, even though we never saw their kids playing outside. They started damaging our fence with their lawnmower and even threw trash into our yard. We couldn't understand why they were so mad until I overheard the wife talking to her mother. She said, "They don't even have kids. They took that house from a family who deserves it. Our house is small and not really suitable for kids, but it's perfect for us, our dog, and our 2 cats." We thought this was just their attitude, but then we began to hear gossip from a few other parents in the neighborhood. They were saying things like, "They don't have kids, so they don't belong here." It was mostly a few parents who had kids of the same age playing together. Some people can be judgmental, but most parents don't really care if you have kids or not, so we didn't pay much attention to it. Then, a few weeks ago, my husband and I were arguing while carrying groceries into the house. We were just frustrated with each other, and it wasn't a big deal. Suddenly, the police showed up at our door. Our area has strict domestic violence laws, so the police usually make an arrest when they receive a domestic call. However, it was clear that there was no danger in our situation. I went back inside, and we quickly checked our Ring camera's live feed, which caught the police officer's conversation. One officer said, "This was nothing. If my neighbors called the police every time my wife and I argued, they'd be here every day." A sergeant responded, "This was a huge waste of our time. I'm going to talk to the person who called. We should never have been called here. I'm tired of coming to this neighborhood." The sergeant went across the street, and we couldn't hear exactly what was said, but it was clear that he wasn't happy with the neighbors who had called. The husband started shouting, "We have kids. They shouldn't have to hear this." The sergeant said something that made him quiet down and then wrote him a ticket for making a false report. We were really upset that the police had been called to our home. We knew it could have ended badly for one of us, all over nothing. We talked to our next door neighbor, who we really like, and they were getting ready to sell their house. They told us, "Yeah, I didn't want to say anything, but my ex-husband and I had problems with the same neighbors for years. We didn't want to get involved, but there's a group of parents who talk about you all the time and are trying to make you leave. They think you shouldn't be here because you don't have kids. We had issues with them because my ex-husband is black, and they didn't want black kids in the neighborhood. The cops used to be called all the time when our kids were playing outside, so the police know about these parents. Now, they give out tickets every time they're called, and it turns out to be nothing." We couldn't believe it. We had confirmation that there really was a group of parents trying to push us out, and they were also racist. Later that day, we saw the person who had called the police talking to our next door neighbor, who was furious with him. She said, "I've told you over and over not to call the police for every little thing. I have black kids who have black friends, and the last thing I need is a tragedy because of you. You called the police for nothing, and my kids could have been hurt. We're not sure what to do at this point. We're surrounded by mean, racist parents who seem determined to keep calling the police on us until we leave." This morning, we caught the neighbors behind us letting their large dog into our fenced yard to poop, which was trespassing. They left their dog in our yard and only came back inside when my husband confronted them. He called animal control and provided the Ring footage to the same sergeant who had come earlier. The police and animal control arrived, and the wife was caught trying to sneak the dog back into her house. My wife and I decided that the next time they call the police on us, we will provide them with the Ring footage of them letting their dog on our property. If the cops give us the choice, we will certainly press charges, and since they already have gotten ticketed for the false calls, we should have a strong case against them.